I don't need to introduce myself. Do I?
Can, if you want, the slide's going to come up. Now, you got to remember, a slide's going to come up with your arrows going in several directions.
Which you might hold for a second and a half.
I may hold it for 3 seconds and allow you to talk through it.
Yeah.
And then you'll dissolve through that slide and you'll be on. Okay? Just free flow and go.
What you're looking at there is, let's start over again. I'm going to do a lot of this. What you're looking at there is the composite page size of the average American magazine, which I consider my canvas. It never changes. Dimensions stay the same, the shape is the same, but what I've tried to do through the years is create an entirely new looking page in that shape, with the same old elements probably. Birnbach put me onto that. He was crazy about what he called the new page. And I was too, and I really went after it each time. I'd stay late after we got the concept, the writer and I, to work out a new way of putting it down on the paper and breaking up the space. And when the writer came in the next morning, he barely recognized, he certainly recognized the idea, but he was quite shocked, usually, at the look of it. I'd stay forever. I would stay through the night sometimes in search of this new page. And I guess that this ad is from 1954. It's for Polaroid, Life magazine, and we thought it was a pretty new page. The fact is, it has. People said, but you don't have a logo, and we do have a logo. It's a picture logo of a product that was the only thing of its kind in the world. No other camera had a picture coming out of the back at the time, so it served as a logo. Now here you're looking at a Volkswagen ad, and the space breakup existed before. It was really, Ogilvy was doing it a great deal, and I always admired that man. But I did change a lot about it. He would never have allowed sans serif Futura type in the body copy. Now this ad is sort of, I like to show it because it's the one that Volkswagen never bought. It shows a dealer in a Rolls Royce, and he's saying it's been a pretty good year for us here at Volkswagen. I always loved it, and Volkswagen just didn't buy this one. Now I was going home one night on the train, and Bob Gage was sitting next to me, and I was in the middle of doing Volkswagen ads at that time, and he said something which I thought was a little sarcastic, because my headlines were getting smaller and smaller on Volkswagen, and I mean so tiny that they looked terribly important. I got off Volkswagen, and Birnbach put me on Avis. We had just gotten this account. And Avis was a dying rent-a-car company. Low quality. The cars were always dirty. The ashtrays were full. And one thing they had, though, was they had a man named Townsend, Bob Townsend, who was a remarkable man who just loved new advertising, inventive advertising. And he'd be on the phone with me all the time. He'd call me from Garden City, Long Island, which was their headquarters, and he'd say, "What are you working on?" And I'd say, "American Airlines." He'd say, get off it, and get on my account. What have you got that's new?" And he was a remarkable guy to work with. He used to have meetings, stand-up meetings. He had no chairs in the conference room because he wanted short meetings, and he got them. Everybody had to stand, and they made it very short. And he had no secretary. My kind of client, this guy. He had, I don't know how many you find these days like this guy. He was what we call in America a rugged individualist. And what was I going to say here? He had no secretary, but he had a secretary. He had a woman who posed as his secretary for people who insisted on talking to his secretary. And anyway, he bought stuff like this. They had just gone through a very expensive logo redesign, trademark redesign, and the first thing I did was I rejected it. And that was one of the things that was dropped out of this advertising. But what I like to say about this is that we really put them on the map. This is my favorite campaign, incidentally. I like to say that the Avis sales curve after 6 months of our advertising is the most beautiful piece of graphics I've ever done in my life. It really shot up, and their kids started going to college, and I was a hero in that company, and it was a marvelous experience. There's another thing about this. Bernbach came down after I had been Paula Green and I had been assigned this account, and he said, "What have you got? What do you got, fellas?" That's what he always said. And I'd say, "Well, I don't know, Bill. There are a couple of tissues on the wall. Why don't you take a look at them?" And he really wanted to know where the heck is the campaign, because I had been maybe on it for 2 months. And, well, 3 actually, but so he looked at these tissues on the wall, and he turned and he said, "What else have you got?" And I said, "Bill, that's all I got right now." He said, "Okay, finish up a couple of them and let me take them over." And he sold them. And he was quite a, not a salesman so much, but I don't want to dwell on Bernbach, it's over. But he was a man with a mission rather than a salesman. That's why what he did worked. That's why what he said worked. It had weight behind it. He wasn't considered a salesman. He was a bit of a preacher of his way of doing advertising. So anyway, this was let me get back to the new page thing. This is a very important page, I feel, that I did that was sort of done all over the world. I have been doing Volkswagen. Gage said, "How much smaller can headlines get before they become illegible?" And I thought that was sarcastic on his part, but I started to think about it nevertheless. And so I got the Avis account. I was off Volkswagen, and I just turned everything upside down. I put the headline on top, no more Ogilvy. Put the headline on top very big, which was really quite shocking because people were beginning to do a lot of Volkswagen type layouts with small headlines. So we reversed it overnight. Headline on top, tiny picture, which was so small that the Art Directors Club never gave me a medal for this. They felt it was a copy campaign, I guess. I don't know. And they completely ignored the fact that this was a page that I guess we hadn't seen before. Anyway, that's that. And another new page for Scott's, which is a lawn seed company in the U.S., and with wonderful copy by Jack Dillon. The end of it always said, "Just write us here in Marysville, Ohio. You don't need a street address. We've been here 100 years." That floored me when I read that. I've always loved wonderful copy. Okay, here's The thing behind this is that the client came. He was a terrific client too. He came to me one day in the agency and he said, "I've got 4,000 cars that I have to get rid of. They're all parked in New Jersey at the docks. And I have to get rid of them fast because the new model is coming in. So what we have to do here is make the car look new again. Make it look exciting all over again and make it look new again." So we did this page here, which was really influenced. I got this idea of the fox is the car is the fox. They were all like that in this campaign. Fox looks at itself in the mirror and sees a car. And they were heavily influenced by Guy Bourdin. I don't know what happened to him. I wonder if he's around, but he was a remarkable, very new kind of photographer. And he was doing the Charles Jourdain ads, shoe ads, French, which I really admired. They were surrealistic photographs. And that's where I got this idea from Guy Bourdin. And I did like the layout of the Guy Bourdin ads. The top half was a non-bleed color photograph. But I never liked their bottom. I never liked the base of the Charles Jourdain ads. So I copied this half picture idea from Guy Bourdin and Charles Jourdain, but I stayed late quite a few nights working this out. I've always been interested in the details. One of my heroes of the 20th century is Mies van der Rohe, the architect, who said, "God is in the details." And I guess I agreed with that completely. I always tried to make an ad look like something other than an ad when I could. And here I tried to make this Porsche campaign look like a series of fact sheets. I even numbered them. And there was no headline. What it said was, "Consumer Orientation #3 in a series of technical papers." My idea behind this was to get copy written that no layman, no car buyer would understand. It was not your usual pseudo-technical copy that you see in car advertising. It was totally, it was written by Tom Jobage, who went over to Weissach in Germany and went through their papers and their engineering, their R&D department, research and development, and dug out facts that had never been in car ads before and that were so complicated nobody would understand them. And my theory behind that was the ad should look like when you lift up the hood of a Porsche. It's marvelous, but you don't understand it. But it's impressive. But we got shockingly high readership scores on these, and I couldn't explain that, and I felt like a failure because this is believe it or not, this series was, I did a red one, a blue one, and a yellow one. This series was a new film introduction, and I felt it was a new page. And we actually we shot through the type and reproduced the photograph through the type to make it look like a picture developing. The copy was about the picture, so why shouldn't it be a picture, was the idea here. That was that. Skip that one. And then did this Chanel ad. Chanel always pre-bought two facing 2/3 pages. And they gave me one product. Now what do you do with one product when you have two facing pages. What else would you do but that? And besides that, they always liked sort of extremely sexy stuff. And I forgot to smile, but now that isn't much over 3 minutes, probably. That's 6 or 7. What did I leave out here that I'd like to say? Do you have enough, Jack?
I think I have plenty.
That's really great stuff.
I think we're in good shape. Thanks.
On the importance of copying. That'll confuse them, right?
What do you think of copyright?
What do I think of copywriters? I'm glad I'm not a copywriter, but I'd rather be an art director any day. But I have had some wonderful, wonderful copywriters working with me in my life. The copywriters I liked best were the ones who, after they wrote the copy and I read it, explained to me why I got the concept. In other words, their copy went uphill. It contributed enormously to the ad and made it complete, rather than so often you see copy that dies and it's just there to be a number 2 gray, like a wash that they put across the page. And I have worked with some great copywriters and really sort of intelligent people. There's a thing about going for newness. Now, new doesn't mean that you're with it, that you're doing stuff that is in the forefront of today's advertising. That's not what new is at all. That just means you're a club member. You've joined up with the best of them. And your stuff looks like what is considered today to be really hot stuff. No, that's not what new. New is looking for something that you have never seen before. And Bernbach understood that better than any man alive. That was okay on that, I think, right?
I like the idea about you didn't care about how other people thought. And
I did. I cared a lot about being liked and accepted around the company and being popular. But there was one thing that came before that, and that was the work. And I don't know why I was so driven to try to do things that were on the cutting edge, but I don't know. I was just I don't know. It was part of my makeup, I guess. I don't know where it came from. And very often, in the eyes of account people, I created problems rather than solved them, because I created a problem for them. They weren't sure that they would want to take the ad to the client at all. These ads you've seen here were not easy getting through account people and clients. There were quite a bit of heated discussions at times. So my point is, if your mission in life is to be adored by everybody around you, you may not be doing work that is in the forefront, because something new is hard to it's hard to judge, especially by me. I wasn't sure about it. If I had done a new layout that I had never seen before, and I guess anybody else had ever seen before. And it's very difficult. You can't really blame these account people because they don't know what to make of it. We did have, again, we did have the old man, Bernbach, who was crazy about new. I don't know where he got it from, but unlike Ogilvy, for example, who was he was innovative, but he wasn't. It didn't motivate his life like it did Bernbach's. In fact, Ogilvy once said about the Doyle Dane Bernbach, they worship at the altar of creativity. It's sort of an outrageously sarcastic thing to say. Always admired him. I'm glad I didn't work for him. He once wanted to hire me for my typography. He said that his strategy was great, but I told him, oh, look, I'm a strategist. He said, yes, but I like your typography a lot. And it's true. I learned a lot from him, though. Like, for example, the copy in a lot of the ads that crossed my desk was riddled with widows. It was very wide open copy, and I got the idea from of doing this throughout the copy from something that Ogilvy had said in print, which was, don't ever accept a first paragraph from a writer that has more than 13 words in it. I thought that was really a neat idea. I had never heard of anything like that. That's like telling a short joke before a dry speech, you know. And so what I decided to do was convince writers to write with a lot of holes in the copy, a lot of short. I called it Gertrude Steiny looking copy. And it was uniquely Volkswagen, and it actually influenced, I believe, the writing style on VW, which I'm not I never had much English in my life, but in school, had art instead. But I guess it meant subject, verb, object. I don't know. It was a very simple style that my razor blade really had a lot to do with when I cut widows into the comps. And I showed them to the writers, and I said, please make it look like this. Okay, that's the story of my life.
Let me ask you one other question. I mean, this is naive in a way, but when you talk about details in advertising, we're the most, outside of the concept, which probably is God in terms of
Details. Well, my details and ads, my time spent on details and type revisions were added mightily to the cost of the production budget, which you don't want to use. But I don't know quite what to say about details. I did a lot of cutting of type with a razor blade. I'd even change typefaces somewhat with a razor blade. I'd cut a C narrower, you know, just slice off the end, and I just don't know what to say about details. Do you know what I should say about details, George?
No, I think all your ads have said that.
I mean, craftsmanship, details and craftsmanship are important, but the newness of the thing is what counts with me. To see a page I've never seen before is a really exciting thing to me, even today. Every once in a while I see somebody do something that is really shocking, and I jump up and down just like Bernbach used to do. I become a child when I see it. I admire a lot of I admire a good deal of advertising that is sort of status quo. It's creative and it's really well done, lots of craftsmanship, and it says to me that the art director really knows what's going on. He's really with it. But he's not a little ahead of it. And I really enjoy seeing things that are way ahead.
Oh, yeah, one of your famous lines is, it's been done before. Just want you to say it once.
I don't think I ever said that. Huh? You just want me to say that. Well, how are you? All right. It's good, but it's been done before.